Welcome back to our video, guys. Today we're going to be ranking every Godzilla from every era. I'm going to be turning over to Godzilla right now to see who's the best and who's the worst. Stick around to the end of the video, and if you want to see another video like this, leave a comment down below. Now, Godzilla, let's start with the Showa era.
The Showa era, the inception of Godzilla, started off in 1954 to 1975. So this era, obviously, is the start of Godzilla, as you know. And there's a lot of designs throughout that era because they were trying to figure out who Godzilla really was because he was brand new. So the 1954 Godzilla, is the way it started off, was the baseline for every Godzilla you see today, except for Godzilla 1998, but we won't talk about that. So even though that was a really good design because that shows you how Godzilla's going to be now today, that as you see him. But the problem is other designs in the Showa era kind of were a swing and a miss, if you will, because... Don't even get me started on Godzilla 1967, because he looked like a mutated toad. And, okay, I'm not going to think about it. So, with that in mind, there's a lot of Godzilla designs that were good, and some others that were bad. Like Godzilla 1962, I think was a really good design. And then you have some others like Godzilla 1955, which kind of looks a little derpy, but not too bad, but you know. So, I'm going to say the Showa era most likely fall in a C class.
Now let's go to the Heisei era, which is another great era. Of course, can't compete with the Monsterverse, if you know what I'm saying. But now let's rank that right now.
Alright, so the Heisei era started in 1984 and ended in 1995. Now this era was like a clean slate for Godzilla, because back in the Showa era, it seemed to be more like a kid's movie for kids. So it made Godzilla paint a picture like he was kind of goofy, which is something that Toho didn't technically want too much. So now in 1984, they decided to reboot the series with the return of Godzilla. And they made him bigger, meaner, and scarier, and obviously a new design. Now, in 1984, Godzilla was a little bit different than the rest of the Heisei Godzilla that you know and love. But that was the start of it, so they're kind of like trying to figure that out too. Well, eventually in 1989, they changed its design to the overall, what you see up till 1995 when it became Burning Godzilla. That Godzilla design was awesome, because I think what they like is they kept the same design of Godzilla pretty much throughout, just minor changes here and there each movie. But besides that, you recognize that Godzilla, like, oh yeah, that's the Heisei Godzilla, like I seen it from the last movie. So I like how they did that. So I'm going to say this era was probably one of the best Godzilla designs. I'm going to give it an S.
Yep, and now we go into the Millennium Era. This has Final Wars in it, which is my favorite movie out of the older ones, because I started off with the Monsterverse, like basically everyone probably has in the new generation. But I will say, going back to the older movies, that had to have been one of my favorites. But now let's rank the Millennium.
The Millennium Era, starting off from 1999 to 2004. A very short era. Actually, was not supposed to happen because due to the dumpster fire of Godzilla 1988. But some people still like it. I still won't judge you. Just Godzilla fans, we're not a big fan of the design, which is why we are not ranking it, because we don't consider it Godzilla really as much as the others. But anyway, so due to that, Toho decided to put Godzilla out of retirement in 1999, which was a year later. So it was kind of a quick thing, but design-wise, it still did a pretty good job with like the 2000 Godzilla design, which you have seen in like the Pipeworks Godzilla game. That was a pretty good game, probably Godzilla game at its peak. And then you have Godzilla GMK, good design as well. Godzilla 2002, I also like that design. 2003, same design. And let's not forget Final Wars, my favorite Toho Godzilla film. Also reminded me of the Heisei era Godzilla. So the Millennium Era was, even though they didn't have as many films as the rest do right now, it was still good designs. I mean, really good. Even the Final Wars Godzilla, it was like a mix of everybody. Like, had Showa in him, you had the Millennium, which is the current, and then you had the Heisei Godzilla all in one. So with all that in mind, and even all the other designs were really good, I'm going to say it is A+, like really close to the S tier.
Yep, and now we move on to the Raya era. This had to have been one of the shortest eras with only 2 films in it, Shin Godzilla and -1. I think both of these films are great, of course, because I've seen them both. But without further ado, let's rank those.
So the Raya era started in 2016, well, in the Godzilla form. Actually, it was 2019. By the way, if you're wondering why these eras seem off, it's because I'm going by Godzilla standards. Like, the Heisei actually ended in 2019 and started like in 1989, even though it said 84. And the show was like only in the 1940s, so I'm doing it in Godzilla terms. So the Raya era for Godzilla is 2016 to, modern day. we're counting this first because it's shorter, and obviously I'm not doing the anime trilogy or the Singular Point because that's not really the Godzilla films. But if I just throw that in there, those designs were okay. So that's going to kind of put a damper on the Raya Era. But -1, great design. I mean, it's probably one of the best designs I've seen in the recent years. Godzilla -1 is a really, really good design. It has the Heisei vibes, but skin tone of like -1, and no Reiwa though, no hint of Reiwa, which is kind of sad. But still, -1 is a really good design. And Shin Godzilla, he's it depends on who you ask, but some people say he's a really cool design. Some people say he's kind of a ugly little thing. But I'm gonna say Shin Godzilla is pretty good. I mean, still kind of creepy, but I think that's what they're going for in their modern era. So if you look at all that, I'm gonna say the Reiwa is an okay era as of right now in Toho. But if it wasn't for Godzilla -1, that era should be dead. So I'm gonna give it like a B.
All right, and now, after insulting Shin Godzilla, which looks like he was dropped on the head, we move on to the Monsterverse era. I've seen all these movies. I think they're all great, and I won't even start on how good the 2014 was. That was the first Godzilla movie I'd ever seen. But without further ado, let's turn it over to Godzilla.
So the Monsterverse, which is what our generation knows today, and how a lot of people in America right now are kind of well acquainted with Godzilla nowadays, which is really cool. So obviously it started off in 2014, and it's still going on with the next film in March 26, 2027. So we'll look forward to that in the future. Now I have to be biased because this is how I started off, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you here today maybe started off with this, or maybe 1998. We don't know your generation, but the films were good. Really, really good. I like them a lot. 2014, even though there's not a lot of Godzilla in it, it's still starting it off, and that was cool. And King of the Monsters, love that movie. Godzilla vs. Kong, awesome. Godzilla vs. Kong: The New Empire, also really cool. So I'm excited to see where that goes. Even though I wish there was more Godzilla in it, the fact that Godzilla scenes are really, really cool and fun to watch, it makes it all worth it in the end. Now, the design of the Monsters Godzilla changes just like the Showa or the Millennium Era. Only it's just one Godzilla, the Heisei. So it's kind of like a cool mix altogether. So they got 2014 base design, looked pretty cool for the time. And then now you have 2019 with the Godzilla Heisei design, and now we've got the evolved Godzilla. So it shows you how much he's changing. And he's going to have another form in 2027. So if you ever get bored with one Godzilla design, you'll never be bored. But if you like one version of it, sadly, you will not keep that version. So that's where people are kind of mixed. But I honestly like Godzilla's changing because I want to see him get more and more powerful as he keeps going on. So I'm going to say within the short time this era has been around, only with a few films, Godzilla's been changing a lot, kind of keeping him going, so it's really cool. So I'm going to say this is like an S tier with the Heisei era.
Yep, it is amazing, and I mean, some people count Kong's Skull Island, but I mean, you can't really call the Godzilla film if Godzilla's not in it. I mean, the movie itself was pretty cool, but like he said before we were recording, he was like, well, it can't. Nobody really calls it a Godzilla movie. I mean, some people. I mean, it's technically a part of the MonsterVerse, but if I'm just going off that movie, that one's an F tier. But anything with Godzilla is amazing.
Oh yeah, for a Kong movie, I mean, I'm not much of a Kong fan myself, but that was a pretty good movie. So that's what's really cool about that. But as far as the MonsterVerse goes, with Godzilla in it, it is really good itself. Although in the latest entries, the thing they're falling short on is Godzilla himself, especially with Kong getting his own game. And then the two movies have had Godzilla sidelined, like Godzilla vs. Kong. When I first saw it, I was like, Godzilla seems like a little less screen time, but I'm like, I can get over it. Godzilla's still cool. Godzilla's Kong: New Empire. Godzilla has some great scenes, but still was limited. So it's bothering me a lot lately. But I think, well, actually I know. The next Godzilla film will have a full Godzilla story. Kong will still be in it, by the way, but Godzilla will have a full story, like us Godzilla fans have been wanting for so long in the MonsterVerse. So if Godzilla has a good story and a really cool design in that next film, then the MonsterVerse might just be on top over the Heisei. Because right now, I think they're equal, but I think it could probably beat it.
Yep, guys. But thank you all for watching today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace out.